I am an investor and a forward thinker. I have a few videos I've made where I've discussed investing in things like real estate, the commodities market, forex trading, investing in stocks and bonds, and the futures market, basically. I've even talked about, I have one video where I talk about investing in domain names. But I want to talk now about what is undoubtedly the smartest investment you can ever make. And you can start making this investment today. It is by far the smartest investment you can make. Understand that we invest in order to get an expected future return on our investment. We invest money typically in order to get more money. Whether we put our money in stocks, bonds, commodities, mutual funds, securities, gold or silver, whatever we're investing in, our ideal is to get a greater return than what we invested. But typically we're trying to make more money. Understand that money itself has no intrinsic value. None at all. No intrinsic value. None. Intrinsic value would be value that is intrinsic within an item. It has value in and of itself. If you think money has intrinsic value, then tell me what you can do with it intrinsically. The only thing you can really do with money is to use it to acquire things that do have intrinsic value. Now, what things do have intrinsic value? Everything we would pay money for. The value of anything can be defined based upon our willingness to pay money for it. And the value of something is what a willing buyer will pay. That is what it's worth. What a willing buyer will pay. But if you spend your money on clothes, on shoes, on electronic items, DVDs, iPhones, paintings, sculptures, anything else, whether it's aesthetic, whether it's art, whether it's housing, there is intrinsic value in that thing. But money itself has no intrinsic value. It is only a medium of exchange to get something that actually has value. The reason I say that is because when we make any other type of investment, we're typically trying to get more money. And if money has no intrinsic value, and if we only invest in things that can get us more money, what if you were in a situation where nobody cared about money? They care about the things that are intrinsically valuable, but money is not one of them. And all your investments you've ever made have to do with money. The smartest investment you can make is to invest in something that has intrinsic value in and of itself. Now, some people may say that gold, for example, has intrinsic value because gold is used in a lot of commercial items. It's even used in phones and computers and things like that. It's used for medical purposes. There's a lot of value in gold. But are you able to capitalize, you yourself, off of the intrinsic value you have in gold? Most people that have gold or hoard gold is so that they can at some later point, trade it in for money, something that has no intrinsic value. Now, intrinsic value, again, is something we can use immediately, and it has value in and of itself. One of the most valuable things that there is that you'll ever have in your life, it's something that you can't live without. You can live without an iPhone. You can live without the latest cell phone, the latest digital watch, the latest computer, the latest iPad, the latest tennis shoes. You can live without all of those things. But one thing you can't live without is food, and you can't live without water. I'm going to go to Costco. I put in this Costco search engine. Let's just do it again. The word survival food. And we have 104 results for survival food. And that's what I want to talk about. This is the smartest investment you can make. One of them. Because food in and of itself has intrinsic value. And it is going to go up in value. Now, this survival food, what is unique and peculiar about it is that you're talking about food that has a potential shelf life of 25 to 30 to 40, 35 or 40 years. depending upon how you store it, and particularly, and all you really have to do is make sure it doesn't get too hot, because that will lower the shelf life of it. In this case, for $1,000, basically, you have 6,200 servings, a 1-year person emergency food kit. That means this will last one person for 1 year. Okay? And here we have a 4-person 1-year food kit. It's substantially more food if you do the math. For $4,000. Okay? So this one has 6,200 servings, and this one has 31,500 servings. This would only be 24,800 servings if you do the math, 6,200 times 4, compared to what you get here for 4 times as much, but you're getting a lot more than 4 times the amount of food. Okay? So that would be 24,800 servings if you got 4 of these kits for $4,000. But for $4,000 here, you can get 31,500 servings. And this is enough to supply 4 persons in your household for 1 year, or 1 person, obviously, for 4 years, or 2 people for 2 years. Now, when it comes to food storage, I am a prepper, by the way, and the model of a prepper is the same model that Boy Scouts have. I was a Boy Scout when I was a kid, and it is to be prepared. That's all being a prepper means. It means being prepared. And to me, to not be prepared means being stupid. And being prepared means being prepared for any and every eventuality, anything that may happen. So you can take it as far as you want to take it, but we should be prepared, because we don't know what the future holds. But what we do know for sure, and preppers do understand this, is that things are going to happen in our lifetime. More likely than not, that if you're not prepared, you're going to wish you had been prepared. And the time to get prepared is now. In this case, now let's compare this group, 31,500 total servings. This is 32,500 servings, and it's 1,000 more servings, which is significant, and it is a lot cheaper by $800. For $33,199, it's also a 4-person 1-year food kit. So obviously, if you have 4 persons in your house, it'll last you a year. If you have 2 people, it'll last you 2 years. 1 person will last you 1 year. Now, if you could afford it, I would say it would not hurt to invest in something like this, for quite a few reasons. Because when the SHTF, and that's the acronym preppers use, it stands for when the shit hits the fan, and it's definitely going to hit the fan. We just don't know when, how, or why. It could be anything from natural disaster that may not affect the entire nation, but it may affect your area. It may affect you. So it doesn't matter how wonderful things might be in other parts of the world, or other parts of the country you live in, or the nation, or the state, or anywhere else. If you are in a situation that requires long-term survival, and that you would benefit from long-term food storage preparation, then that's really all that matters. But the reality is that a situation could very well happen that affects your entire nation. It could be anything from World War III, or a local war, or it could be natural disasters. It could be EMP strike, electromagnetic pulse, which can happen as a result of some of our, I won't call them enemies, but there are nations out there that have the capabilities of doing electromagnetic pulse strike. And also it can happen as a result of a solar flare-up, something that can happen naturally, which knocks out the entire grid, the electrical power grid. And what happens when the electrical power grid goes down? And a lot of people don't think about this, is not only are you not going to have electricity and a lot of the essentials for survival and for life, you're not going to have water. A lot of people don't realize that the electrical power grid is directly tied to your water supply, because their water pumps run off of electricity, and you're not going to have water. See, we're so spoiled in America. You flip a switch and light comes on. You turn a tap and water comes out. And many of you live in rural communities, you live in suburban areas, or you live in inner cities, to where there's no viable source of water anywhere nearby. All you know is that the viable source of water that you have grown accustomed to using is your kitchen tap. Or perhaps going to the store and being able to buy bottled water, or having a sparkless water bottle company bringing water to you, or something like that. We take it for granted. You know, The two most essential things you need and that you can invest in is food and water. Now, a lot of people don't think about water, and even those that do are not really thinking about it from a practical standpoint. Right here, for example, we have a 55-gallon barrel water storage drum for $109. You can get them for a third of that. You can even get them for free, food grade, if you know how to do it. But it doesn't matter what they cost. 55 gallons. You know, a lot of preppers think they're doing good because they've got a couple of these, but that doesn't last too long. It is said that 1 gallon will last one person about 1 month. I'm sorry. A day. 1 gallon will last a day. You need about a gallon a day. You need to think like that. And that's not just for drinking water. That's for hygiene, for washing your hands, and the other things you need water for. So on average, you're going to, even under a survival situation, a minimalist situation, where you're downsizing all and you're getting back down to basics, you're just trying to survive, not live a luxurious life. Even then, you're going to need at least 1 gallon per person per day. So if it's one person and you have a barrel like this, that's short-term survival if that's all you have, because if something happens and you don't have access to any other water other than what you have stored up, and this is all you have is 55 gallons, at best it's going to last you 55 days, and that's without you taking a bath during this entire time. Maybe taking a little wash up. You could stretch it out and last a little bit longer. Now, what if you have 2 or 3 people in your household? What if you have 4? I mean, just do the math. I mean, if it's 1 gallon per day, you take, you say you have 5 people in your household, that lasts you about 11 days at best. Okay? That's the reality. You got 5 people in your house. Okay, you stretch it out, it might last you 15 days. But what happens if it's a long-term survival situation where the grid is down and the survival situation may last for months? I would say that the smart thing to do is to be prepared long-term. Most preppers never stop prepping, but if you're going to prep at all, you need to think in terms of long-term preparation plan. A long-term preparation plan doesn't mean that you necessarily have to store everything you need to last for a few years, but you should prepare for the possibility of being in a situation where life as we know it is no longer as it is, and you need to be prepared to survive for a few years. You can start off thinking about a few months, but really, you need to think about a few years. And what I like about investing monetarily in long-term food storage, and by the way, I'm not selling anything. I'm not going to give you a link and tell you if you click on this link, you can buy your long-term food storage through this link so I can make a commission as an affiliate. I am an affiliate marketer. I'm an entrepreneur. I do everything. But on this channel, I'm not trying to do any of that. I'm trying to share information. You go wherever you want to go. I'm at Costco. Okay? And you know something? Hold on a moment. I haven't even looked at this. Let's see if Costco even has. Checking something. Okay, I was just checking to see if they even had an affiliate link program. They probably do, but I don't care. I really don't care. Do what you want to do. You can go to Walmart.com. There's a lot of places you can go. Just go on Google. Just start searching for survival food if you're really interested in doing that. But I'm telling you, now let me talk about why it is not only a good investment, but potentially one of the smartest investments you can make. But before I do, let's take a look at what you're actually getting if you were to, and you don't have to start at this level, obviously. Most people, they do their long-term food storage preparation storage. They do the acquisitions piece by piece, little by little, and they do it over time. Okay. Most important thing about long-term food storage is that there's several things. One is the shelf life. Most of the food you buy is going to not last that long, and nothing that has to be refrigerated is going to. Okay, now your canned foods will last longer than anything else. Most of your other food is going to spoil. This food is designed to be stored under regular conditions. That means you don't have to have it refrigerated or anything else. You just don't want to store it in your garage if you live in a hot area like Arizona, California, someplace like that, because it's going to dramatically shorten the shelf life of it. But look at this, up to 25-year shelf life for freeze-dried foods. Some freeze-dried foods can last 30 years or even 35 years. Some of it is prepared and designed to last that long, okay? Or even longer. That's just what they're telling you. I mean, really comes down to it, and it's been more than that, and you still have it, then most of it will still be nutritious and edible. Because see, when your neighbors are out there uh, foraging for cats and rats and dogs, all the pets have already been eaten. Now they're trying to find stray dogs, but guess what? The stray dogs are trying to find food too, and they form packs. And life as we know it does not exist. It's a dangerous situation out there. It's hostile. It's like you're living in the Walking Dead that has come to life, and people are acting like the Walking Dead. They're literally acting like zombies. Okay, and they're eating anything they can get, and they will even eat you, and I mean that literally. Okay, so let's take a look at what you would get. In this case, $3,199. 4-person 1-year food kit. Like I said, if it's lasts one person 4 years, 2 people 2 years. And that's smart to think long term like that. Let's see. You're going to get diverse assortment of grains, fruits, vegetables, proteins, and basics. Freeze-dried strawberries, peaches, bananas, apples, corn, green beans, onions, carrots, potatoes, beef TVP, chicken TVP. By the way, this is not real beef and it's not real chicken. And I like beef. I like meat. I like beef. So, and you want to supplement this with real meat and real chicken because, of course, in a survival situation, you're gonna want to hunt. You're gonna want to gather. You're gonna want to fish if you can, but you want to have a situation where you don't need to leave your house that much, where you don't need to go out there foraging for anything. Now, water's a whole nother problem that's going to get a whole lot of people killed. Let me tell you why I take this seriously. The experts say that in the United States, for example, if we have a grid down situation, that simply means to keep it really simple, most of us at some point have experienced a power outage, whether it was for a few hours or a few days. Most of us have experienced that. And most of us haven't experienced it enough to know how serious it can get. But the reality is, a long-term power outage, let's say it is nationwide, and that very well could happen. You might think it can't because all of the grid is not tied together. It's not. It's not. But an EMP strike or an EMP pulse, especially if it's a solar flare-up, could affect the entire nation and other parts of the world. But let's just focus on one nation. Let's focus on one country. Big country, small country. Geographically, the United States of America is geographically a large country. It covers a lot of landscape. But even still, one solar flare-up, EMP situation, could affect the entire nation or most of it. But the point is that the reality is that if all of the circuitry is fried and dysfunctional, it can literally take months and months and months to get things restored. It can take as much as a year or 2 or even 3 to get everything restored. So even if parts of the nation are being restored and you live in some rural area and there's no power whatsoever, you need to think about that. The experts say that within 1 year, 80 to 90% of the American population will be dead. Within 1 year of an EMP situation or just an electrical power grid outage that's nationwide, 80 to 90% of the population will be dead. Now, that's hard for people to believe and understand because you probably have experienced power outages that lasted a couple of days and you saw it as a hardship. You weren't happy about it. You didn't like it. It lasted 2 days, maybe 3 days. Or maybe if you live in someplace hurricane country in the South, Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi, place like that where they have hurricanes all the time. Or maybe in California where they have earthquakes. Or maybe you have experienced something for a few days. Even Hurricane Katrina. That things were up and running relatively quickly compared to what can happen with a nationwide outage. You see, because one reason that we're able to get an area restored within a reasonable period of time is because everything's not out. But if everything is out, that's going to make everything that much more difficult to get restored. Okay, now let's look at the food some more. We have instant milk, macaroni, wheat, white rice, lentils, pinto beans, shortening powder, chicken bouillon, butter power, sugar, brown sugar, bacon powder, baking soda. I would say this is a start. It's certainly not enough, but that's a good investment. It's a good start. Now let me talk about financially why this is a good investment. First, I want to delve a little bit more into the necessity of having some type of food storage. For $85, basically we have 248 servings of vegetable pack, then you have a fruit pack, and here you have freeze-dried meat. This is actual meat. Unlike the TVP, that's like processed. That's not real meat. It's not real chicken. It's like soy and vegetable products. But this is the real thing. It's basically just freeze dried. And 130 servings is really not a lot, and it's kind of expensive because survival food is not necessarily cheap, but it's really worth it. I mean, my family, we eat out a lot. We eat a lot, and we eat out a lot, and relatively speaking, and we spend a lot of money, and we don't mind doing it because we like to eat. We like to have a nice dining experiences, and when we do, we don't really think about the money at all. And we do think about it, but what I'm saying is that we don't mind spending 30, 40, $50 for a meal, and that may be for one person. Now, we don't do it all the time like that, but no matter where you go, I don't give a darn if you go to Denny's. If you go to McDonald's even, it's not inexpensive. Okay? So compared to eating out, survival food is not that bad. It's expensive if you compare it to regular groceries, but it's not expensive when you compare it to what you pay when you go out to eat. So in this case, you have freeze-dried ground beef, freeze-fried chicken, freeze-dried beef. Okay, and I invest in any and everything that has to do with surviving and being prepared, and that includes weaponry and ammunition, because I'm going to talk about that as well. Maybe not on this video, but I want to get into that, because if you are truly going to be prepared, you need to prepare for any and every possible eventuality. That includes a long-term situation where we are under what we consider in the prepper community WROL. That means without rule of law. What that essentially means is that you will be on your own. It will be survival of the fittest. You can sit around and wait for the government, the National Guard, or anybody else, your local police, to take care of you, to protect you, and defend you from the roving bands of marauders who eventually will be going house to house looking for what they can. You had better be ready for that. And you better be around people that are ready and prepared. That means in addition to stocking up on food, stocking up on water. But see, I want to talk about something that goes much deeper than stocking up on water, because you cannot store enough water for a long-term survival situation. You really can't. Like I said, if we look at a 55-gallon drum, there are people that have one 55-gallon drum and they think they're doing something special. I remember they get a few units like this. For $279, they have 1,100 gallons. Aquabrick filter kit. That's the filter kit. That's just the filtration. Okay? But as far as a container to store water in, you've got one, look at this. You've got one 55-gallon drum, or even if you get 8. In this case, they have 8 55-gallon drums that you can get for $869. Okay? So if you do the math on that, you're talking about 440 gallons for $869. That's a good start for long-term storage, because if you use the proper water purifier, you can get a water purifier. You can use bleach, unscented bleach, or unscented chlorine bleach, or you can use a water purifier that will make sure that your water will be fresh and ready to drink for as long as 5 years. All that means is after 5 years, nothing has happened. You empty out your container and you refill it with fresh water. You put more purification solution in it, and then you go for another 5 years. That's not so bad. The problem is you're gonna kind of be stuck. Now, there's 2 concepts in the prepper community about surviving an apocalypse. One is to bug out or to bug in. That simply means being prepared to leave your home, particularly if you live in an urban area, a suburban area, or anywhere that is around people, any place other than a rural area. But even then, you might want to leave, depending upon who you're around, how many people you're around, and everything else. The mindset that people have is to find a place where they can be isolated from the biggest problem that will exist. What is the biggest problem that will exist? Well, the most natural problems are going to be food and water. That's inherent based on the fact that it will not be readily available, and our bodies need it to live and to survive and thrive. Now, we can solve the problem of food relatively easily. This is not expensive. And the good thing I like about long-term food storage is it doesn't take up a lot of space. The typical groceries you get at the grocery store take up a lot of space. Okay. One thing about the long-term food storage is that typically it's either dehydrated or freeze-dried, and it doesn't take up as much space, and you get a lot of nutrition and calories out of it compared to your regular food. You know, instead of having a bunch of big bags of potatoes that are subject to spoil, you can have a few containers like this with freeze-dried vegetables, potatoes, or whatever else that don't take up a lot of space. Two things about all long-term food storage, most of it anyway, and that is it has to be rehydrated. You need to hydrate it, and the way you do that is you need water, which takes us to the fact that water is even more essential to your survival than food is. We can last several weeks or even a few months without food. You'll be hungry, but you'll be alive. You could only last about 3 days without water. Now, the experts say that within 1 year in the United States of America, of a total electrical outage, electrical grid down outage, within 1 year, this is a sobering reality, you can research it yourself, within 1 year, as much as 80 to 90% of the American population will be dead. The reality is, much of that population will be dead the first few weeks, the first few months. A lot of them will be dead the first few weeks. And that's a fact. The first week, even the first few days, actually, for a lot of reasons. Now, immediately once all the everything goes out, you're going to have hospitals that still have some power from generators and things like that. They're ready for that if you're already in the hospital or if you need to get to a hospital. But everything is going to become problematic, and everything is going to slowly but surely come to a halt until the grid is restored. A lot of people don't realize that electricity and water are tied together. And they say, wait a minute, I've had power outages, but I still had water. You might say the company, the water and power company, shut off my electricity, but I still had water. That's because they didn't shut off your water. They just shut off your electricity to prompt you to pay. If they shut off your water, they would only shut it off at your house, obviously. They're going to shut it off at your water meter. But when the entire grid goes down, even the water pump that pumps the water into your house and into your neighborhood, it will not be functioning either. So every time you turn that tap on in your house, you're basically using electricity whether you realize it or not. So when the entire grid is down, I don't care how much water is in the reservoirs, electricity is what causes it. What, you thought it was gravity? No, it's electricity to come into your house. So when that grid is down, you're not going to be able to turn your tap on and get water. I'm sorry, it's not going to happen. But again, you can only store so much water. There's only so much that you can possibly store, and they say you need at least 1 gallon per day on average. This will last you about 55 days. Family of 5, it will last for 11 days. That's it. Now you're out. That's all you have? Okay, you got 2 of these. We'll do the math. 11 times 2, that'll last you 22 days. You get as many as 8. Get as many as 10. If you got 10 of those, it'll last you, fine, 110 days, whatever. But, which is not bad, but that's only a few months. We need to think in terms of long-term survival. And by long-term, we mean be prepared for starting. Your starting point should be 3 months. Your starting point right now is I need to be prepared to be totally self-sufficient and self-reliant. That means everything I need. That means shelter, that means food, that means clothing, water, everything I need. Let's say it's without rule of law. WROL because the SHTF. We're WROL because the SHTF. That means you're without rule of law because the shit has hit the fan. It doesn't matter what caused it. It's a catastrophe. It's an apocalypse, whatever you want to look at it as. And you're going to have to survive. You go to the store. You think. That's what we do now. We go to the store to get food. What happens when the food shelves look like this? And the aftermath of the first few days within the supermarkets looks like this. Because the hordes of people like this have gone through because they realize that the shit has hit the fan. SHTF. So they realize they need to get everything they need to get. They need to get it right now. And I'm going to tell you something. In the beginning, a lot of people will, the rumor will get out there that it may be a while. And, we could have a grid outage. People may not panic at first. At some point, they may realize from their portable radios that this is going to be a long-term thing. And somebody may put the word out, you need to hunker down and be prepared. We don't know how long it's going to be, but realistically, it's going to be a very long time. A very, very long time before we get the grid back up. People are going to make a rush upon all of their local stores, getting everything they can. What's going to happen is eventually even the clerks behind the counter are going to realize they are cleaning out the shelves in this store. And that's why I said money has no intrinsic value. What is the clerk at the store working for? They are working for money. That's why they are on their job, to make money. And yes, people are buying the groceries with money. But after all the shelves are cleaned out and they're not being replaced, money is not going to matter much, but the food that was on these shelves is going to matter a lot. At some point, those clerks, especially when they see all the people that don't have money that are getting it anyway and taking it and running out the side, and security can't stop them, and then the security guards start doing it themselves, the clerks are going to do it because they're going to say, hey, I got a family to feed too. My shift is over in about 6 hours. There's going to be nothing left. They're going to say, forget this. They're going to leave from behind the counter and they're going to join the marauding bands. I won't even call them looters. They're going to be people trying to survive. Even the honest people are going to do it. They'll say, well, after everything is restored, I'll give the store some money to pay for what I'm taking, but I got to get whatever I can get right now. But like I said, eventually there'll be nothing left. So what people get, let's just entertain the idea that this grid down situation lasts for 2, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months. People's radios will no longer be working. Electricity is not working. Their radios run off of what? Batteries. Oh, they got some batteries when they looted or whatever. But they weren't prepared. They don't have the kind that don't require batteries or electricity, the kinds that run off of solar power or a hand cranked radio. They don't have that. And you think your cell phones are going to be working? They're not. And they don't have portable or CB band or radios or walkie-talkies or anything like that to communicate with people. So they're going to not really know what's going on. These are the types of things you need to think about when we think about surviving long-term WROLSHTF situation. Because you're going to need flashlights, you're going to need light. And these things, a lot of them have a cell phone charger too, but the cell phone's not going to do you any good, people. If the cell phone towers also don't have electricity, so you will not have cell phone communication. You need to think about that as well. But in order to know what's going on, you're going to need to be in touch of something that if you use batteries, then you want a portable battery charger that runs off of solar power. Even better, you want something like this that you can use from solar power, and you can crank it up by hand to not only have lighting, but also to have a working radio. And they have some. Matter of fact, I sell them. Here's one here. It runs off of solar. Plus, you can hand crank it. It gives you a flashlight. It gives you AM/FM band radio. You need something like that. Not to mention, let's see. Now, this is a subject I've never talked about on my channel, but I've been into this for a long time. something like this just for $79, just so you can communicate with people. You preferably one that has a range of at least a few miles. You might not want to ever be that far away from other people, but you're going to need to stay in touch with your little band of people, your family. And this is how you're going to do it. Think about that now. Don't wait until something happens. We're talking about the smart investments. That's what the smart money is doing, being prepared. Because all of this stuff, I've got bonds, I've got funds, I've got gold, stocks, mutual funds, all of that, it's really not going to be worth anything. You probably won't be able to go to anybody with cash. Once the stores are cleaned out, and you're going to want to go to the supermarkets that don't have any food left in them, the doors are closed, or maybe they don't need to be closed because there's nothing in there other than a few people that are homeless people that are in there sleeping and ready to kill and do anything they can to get whatever you might have. Because when it gets bad enough and there's nothing else for people to eat, they'll start eating each other. In Venezuela, where this actually happened at, recently it's going on. All of their pets were already eaten, the cats and the dogs. And then they start looking for other people's cats and dogs. And then things can get so bad, they're looking for rats, bugs, roaches, garbage, anything to eat. Desperate times call for desperate measures, and desperate people would do whatever they need to do to survive. The first instinct of any living thing, including a microorganism, is to survive. And people will do that. They will put their survival ahead of your issues, your pain, and your ownership. In a real serious survival situation, people will have little regard for your sense of entitlement or your sense of ownership. You own something. Oh, this is your garden. To hell with that. If they are hungry and it's there and they can see it, they will try to take it because it is about survival. Even what you may have in your well-fortified home, because you are prepared and you've got food, you've got water, you've got everything. You better have something else to deal with this situation. You better be prepared, and you better have some of this as well. And lots of ammo to go with it.